the flashing red on the screen, the headlines screaming about inflation, recession, and market crashes, that knot in the pit of your stomach as you look at your savings, your future, and see a giant question mark. This is financial chaos. For most of us, it's pure fear. It threatens our stability, our security, and our peace of mind. We're taught to build walls against this chaos, get a steady job, diversify, budget meticulously. We do everything we can to keep the storm outside, but what if that fear is the real trap? What if trying to control the uncontrollable is the very thing making us anxious? What if there's a 2,000-year-old secret forged in the Roman Empire that allows you to not just survive financial chaos, but to welcome it, to see it as an opportunity, not a threat? The ancient Stoics knew this secret. Men like Seneca, one of the wealthiest people in Rome, Epictetus, born a slave who became a legendary teacher, and Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man on earth, who ruled through plague and war. They all understood a truth we've mostly forgotten. True wealth has very little to do with your bank balance. It's forged in your mind. We're not talking about hot stock tips or get-rich-quick schemes. We're going deeper. We're going to unpack 7 Stoic secrets that will let you look at a market crash or economic uncertainty and feel not fear, but calm, purpose, and even power. This is how you build unbreakable inner wealth, no matter what the economy is doing. The foundation of all Stoic thought, and your first key to financial peace, is a simple but life-changing idea: the dichotomy of control. The philosopher Epictetus put it plainly: some things are up to us, and some things are not. In our power are our judgments, our choices, our actions, basically our own business. Outside our power are things like our body, our reputation, and for this conversation, the global economy, the stock market, and interest rates. Think about how much energy we waste on things we can't control. We watch the market news, our mood swinging with every point. We curse inflation as if our anger could lower prices. We worry about a future recession we have no power to stop. A Stoic sees this for what it is, a form of self-inflicted madness. It's like yelling at the clouds to stop raining. Financial chaos is, by definition, outside of your control. You don't set interest rates. You don't decide when a bubble bursts. So what can you control? You control how much you save. You control your spending. You control your investment strategy, even if you don't control the day-to-day results. You control how much you learn. You control how you react when the market drops. Will you panic sell at a loss or stick to your long-term plan? This is where Stoics welcome chaos. A crisis strips away the illusion that you're in control of the world and forces you to focus only on what you can actually do. You can't stop the storm, but you can focus on building a better boat. This means automating savings, creating a realistic budget, and acquiring valuable skills to increase your earning potential. When you focus only on what's in your hands, you regain a sense of power, even when the world feels like it's spinning out of control. This might sound wrong. We're always told to think positive and visualize success. The Stoics had a different tool, Premeditatio Malorum, which means the premeditation of evils. This isn't about being gloomy. It's about being a realist. It's the practice of calmly imagining what could go wrong. Seneca advised his friends to set aside a few days each month to practice poverty, to eat the simplest food and wear their plainest clothes, and then ask, is this the condition I so feared? How does this apply to your finances? You don't just hope for the best, you prepare for the worst. You sit down and ask the hard questions. What if I lose my job? What if the market dives 40%? What if a medical emergency drains my savings? This isn't about creating anxiety. It's about building resilience by mentally rehearsing adversity. When you've already walked through the worst-case scenario in your head, two things happen. First, you often realize that as difficult as it might be, you could survive it. The reality is often far less terrifying than the vague fear. Second, and more practically, this exercise pushes you to take smart actions now. Imagining a job loss prompts you to build an emergency fund. Thinking about a market crash encourages you to diversify. Contemplating a medical emergency makes you check your insurance. This is why a Stoic welcomes chaos, because they've already met it in their mind. While others are reacting with shock and panic, the Stoic is prepared. They have a plan. The market crash isn't a total surprise. It's a scenario they've considered and buffered against. Chaos loses its psychological sting when you've already faced it on your own terms. It becomes a test you've already studied for. What is wealth? Society gives us a clear answer: a number in a bank account, the value of your portfolio, the size of your house. But this definition sets us up for constant anxiety, because all of those things can be taken away. The Stoics offered a radical alternative. They argued that things like money and reputation are indifferents, not good or bad on their own. The only true good is virtue, wisdom, justice, courage, and self-control. True wealth, then, isn't what you have, but who you are. Your character is the one possession that can never be lost in a market crash. Seneca was an incredibly wealthy man with an estimated fortune of 300 million sestertii. He was criticized for this, for seeming to preach virtue while living in luxury. But Seneca's defense was that wealth is a tool. It's a preferred indifferent, because you can use it to practice virtue, to be generous, to support others. The key is to never get attached to it. He wrote, "The greatest wealth is a poverty of desires." This mindset is a superpower during financial chaos. If your self-worth is tied to your portfolio, you're on an emotional roller coaster you don't control. But if your sense of wealth is internal, your integrity, your resilience, your knowledge, then market swings become irrelevant to who you are. A Stoic welcomes financial chaos because it's the ultimate test of this definition of wealth. When the external signs of success are stripped away, what's left? Chaos forces you to answer that question. It reveals if your foundation is built on the shifting sands of the market or the bedrock of your character. It's a chance to prove to yourself that your happiness isn't for sale. This might be the most powerful Stoic principle of all. It's one thing to endure chaos. It's another thing entirely to love it. Amor Fati means to not just accept what happens, but to embrace it as necessary. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, faced constant chaos, endless wars, a devastating plague, and betrayal from his inner circle. Yet he wrote in his private journal, "Meditations. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." He believed any obstacle could be used as fuel. The obstacle doesn't just block the path, it is the path. How can anyone love a financial crash? By reframing it from a disaster into a series of opportunities. A market crash is a chance to buy valuable assets at a discount. Losing a job is a terrible blow, but it can also be the push you need to start a business, learn a new skill, or find a career that truly fits you. High inflation is painful, but it's also a powerful teacher in distinguishing needs from wants, forcing you to be more resourceful. A Stoic welcomes financial chaos because they see it as raw material. A sculptor sees a block of marble not as a rock but as a potential statue. A Stoic sees chaos not as a disaster but as a chance to practice courage and wisdom. It's turning a setback into a setup. Loving your fate means understanding that the universe isn't happening to you, it's happening for you. When you're in the middle of financial stress, it can feel all-consuming. A 10% portfolio drop feels like the end of the world. A surprise bill can ruin your week. The Stoics had an antidote for this tunnel vision, an exercise called the view from above. Marcus Aurelius would imagine himself rising up, looking down on his city, then the continent, then the entire globe floating in the blackness of space. From this cosmic perspective, his own problems, even the pressures of ruling an empire, shrank to their proper size. He realized how fleeting most of our daily anxieties are. When you're panicking about a financial problem, try it. Zoom out. Imagine your house, your city. Zoom out further to see the whole country, with millions of others facing their own struggles. Zoom out again and see the planet, a tiny blue dot. Think about cosmic time, billions of years. Now, in that context, how big is this one problem? This isn't about dismissing your problems. They're real. But the exercise drains the panic out of the situation, allowing you to approach it with calm rationality. A Stoic welcomes financial chaos because it's a chance to practice this shift. It's a rebellion against the impulse to obsess over losses. It's a reminder that your life is more than your net worth, and that, as Marcus Aurelius wrote, very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. Our modern world is built for comfort. We have climate control, food delivery, and instant everything. But this has a side effect. It makes us fragile. When real hardship arrives, like financial trouble, we're psychologically shattered. The Stoics prescribed a cure: voluntary discomfort. Seneca would periodically live as if he were poor, sleeping on a hard floor, eating simple food. It wasn't self-punishment, it was a vaccine against misfortune. By willingly experiencing a small dose of hardship, he was building his psychological immune system and proving he could thrive with far less. You don't have to wait for a recession to see how you'd cope. You can practice now. Try a no-spend week. Take cold showers to build mental grit. Deliberately eat cheap, simple meals for a few days. Each of these small acts recalibrates your definition of need and proves you're tougher than you think. A Stoic welcomes financial chaos because it's just involuntary discomfort. And they've been training for it. They've already learned the difference between wants and needs. They've broken their addiction to comfort. While others are terrified of cutting back, the Stoic sees it as a return to a simpler, more robust way of life they've already embraced. This practice makes you anti-fragile, not just resilient to shocks, but stronger because of them. When a personal crisis hits, our focus naturally turns inward. We obsess over our own losses, our own survival. This self-focus, while normal, only amplifies anxiety and isolation. The Stoics offered a powerful counter-idea: Sympatheia, the belief that all things are interconnected. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that what is not good for the beehive is not good for the bee. He knew his actions should serve not just himself but the wider human community. This shifts the goal of finance from simply accumulating for yourself to contributing to others. How does this help in a crisis? When you see a downturn not just as a personal loss but as a reminder of our shared fragility, it can spur you to action. Maybe you support a local business that's struggling. Maybe you use your free time to volunteer. If you're fortunate enough to be secure, chaos is an opportunity to be generous and become a source of stability for others. This focus on the common good is the ultimate antidote to the fear and greed that fuel financial panics. Acting for the common good lifts you out of your own small circle of worry and connects you to a larger purpose, creating a sense of meaning that no market fluctuation can take away. A Stoic welcomes financial chaos because it's a call to duty. It shifts the question from "how do I save myself?" to "how can I be of service?" In focusing on helping others, we paradoxically find our own greatest strength. These 7 principles aren't just ideas. They're a training manual for the mind, a way to build an inner fortress that no economic storm can breach. If this ancient wisdom resonates with you, and you want more strategies for building a resilient life, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. And please, Share this video with someone who might be feeling the stress of financial uncertainty. It could be the perspective they need to find their calm in the chaos. The world will always be chaotic. Markets will rise and fall. Recessions will come and go. Those things are outside our control. The great promise of Stoicism is that our inner peace doesn't have to be. By mastering what you can control, preparing for hardship, redefining wealth, loving your fate, gaining perspective, practicing discomfort, and acting for the common good, you can transform your relationship with money and with life itself. Financial chaos stops being a monster to fear. It becomes a sparring partner, a teacher, an opportunity to forge the only wealth that truly matters, a calm mind, a virtuous character, and an unconquerable soul. That is a power no market crash can ever take away. And that is why a Stoic can look into the heart of financial chaos and not just survive, but welcome it.